So 6 particular elements of a tactical strategy here. Number 1, laser targeted commenting. At least half of that hour that you spend a day, if you can, or let's cut it down, 30 minutes you spend a day should be focused on this laser targeted commenting. So 2/3 of it. If you're going to spend 30 minutes commenting, 15 minutes on your posts and then 15 minutes on the backside of that, or you just want to spend 30 minutes commenting and you're not ready to post yet, your breakdown should be 2/3 of the time commenting on the content of people in your ideal client profile. If you're a medical writer and you're looking to position yourself in a way that you can land fresh opportunities, then you'd want to be commenting on the content of people who run websites that are in your niche. Like, look for people that are active on LinkedIn that fit that profile. How often do they share? Are they just sharing company updates? Okay, well, maybe that's not the best person for you to interact with. Are they sharing ideas and thought leadership about the niche? Well, that's absolutely someone you should interact with. So isolate those people and make it a point of that 2/3 of that commenting block every day to comment on their content. This serves a couple of purposes. Number 1, it pulls more people back to your profile. As you leave comments on other people's content that's really solid and you're contributing to the conversation, they're going to be more likely to come and look at your profile because they're like, okay, who is this person? They're leaving a really insightful comment here. I'm interested in what they have to say, so I want to learn more about who they are. So spend 2/3 of that commenting block on people that fit your ideal client profile. And if you haven't thought about who that is, really you need to spend some time refining that and think about, okay, who are the people I most want to know that I exist and that I have a voice and that I'm contributing to the conversation. And that's your ICP. And those are people you should focus on. And then people who engage with you. I think that reciprocal engagement is very important. This is exactly how I do it every day. The first 20, in my case, maybe 30 minutes, because this is what I do. I'm on LinkedIn all day, every day, pretty much, is with people in my ICP. I do that through my feed. So I'll scroll through my feed and say, okay, there's a CEO. They're a second connection. They're in a target or like an area of business that I am interested in. I'll read their content, I comment, and then I follow them. Why do I follow them? Because I want them to show up in my feed again, right? Like if I've commented on them once, I'm assuming they probably share content often enough to have surfaced in front of me. So I want to see that content in the future. So I follow them so they end up in my feed. I also do this through Sales Navigator. That's kind of another step where I have, like isolated ICP communities for the cities that I want to be spending time in going forward. That's where I am in my business. We're thinking about splitting time. So it's a big mindset thing and focus for me. But people who engage with you are very important as well. You want to show that reciprocal engagement. So somebody comes to your post, they comment on your post, or if they even like it and don't comment, in that 10 minutes, open their profile. Go to their most recent piece of content. Comment on it. Show that reciprocal engagement back. Not only is it, what I call virtuous circles, it's a way to build like good virtuous circles between you. It also signals the LinkedIn algorithm that you are closer to this person and you're both going to be more likely to see each other in the feeds in the future. Any questions about that commenting strategy?
I wanted to ask you, Chris, do you use any kind of that service that you mentioned, Sales Navigator? Is that like a CRM basically?
Sales Navigator is actually one of LinkedIn's products. It's a paid product that's part of Premium. So they really help you kind of isolate profiles, and you can kind of filter down by area, by job title, by whether or not someone's active in like the last 30 or 60 days on LinkedIn. You got a lot of filters there where you can build lists and then you can just interact with those lists. So that's kind of how I treat it. Essentially, I think of it as paying for itself if it gives me some fresh conversations every month. I really encourage people to build like something on a free CRM like Trello. I have a simple swim lane board on Trello as well of like, okay, I commented on this person's content. They viewed my profile. Maybe they're following me. They're engaged in so much as they're like engaging with my content consistently, kind of engagement moving to kind of a warm lead, to DM conversation, to call booked, to client. I've got that visual of that board going in swim lanes from left to right. And I do this, I'm religious about it and kind of crazy about it. of every bit of interaction. I did my post on it today. Every bit of interaction I do is in that board. If I comment on somebody's posts, they go on a card. If they look at my profile, they go on a card, because I want to track every bit of that activity, to see somebody that's close to me versus somebody that's what I call like drive-by engagement, who comes by once and engages and I don't ever see them again. So that's how, like, visually I separate between somebody that's kind of lightly engaged with what I'm doing versus more heavily engaged.
Well, that makes sense. I didn't know LinkedIn had that. That's very cool. It's basically having a like a it's like a funnel basically.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
through
they really.
LinkedIn getting to like what you need. Well, we have a good question from we have two questions from Mishka. Is it necessary to have a premium account to run a freelancing business?
Yes and no. I say no, it's not absolutely necessary, but there are some pretty substantial limitations that LinkedIn places on free accounts. For example, you can only see your 5 most recent profile viewers, and you can't see all the other people that have looked at your profile. So if there are 30, 40 people that have looked at your profile, you're only going to see your 5 most recent profile viewers. That kind of restricts your activity to an extent. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth it, honestly, in my opinion. You can definitely try if you're first getting started. Try go the free route for a while and just see how it feels for you, and build your own CRM or build something simple, which you can use. But I do recommend it if you're really serious about LinkedIn and building your presence there. It's worth it.
Yeah. And also, I would say, just in general, for your freelancing business, for being self-employed, if there's some way for you, like where you are or where you're set up, to make it into a tax-deductible business expense, that basically gets you halfway there, at least in terms of making it worth it. So, like, that is one of the changes of mindset that a lot of us go through being a freelancer, being self-employed, that it's like, oh, I have to pay for all this extra stuff that I'm not really used to. But you have to understand that this is how you get there and how you get to what you need.
So commenting tactics, again, comment on your ICP content first. Also, another one that I think is very important, is a good way to be seen as a helper and somebody that's supporting other people, that are creating, is to leave comments on content that's really good. You're like, wow, I got something out of that. I took some value from it, but no one else is engaging with it. We're all in that place at one time or another. When I first started putting stuff out there, I was getting 1 or 2 likes and a comment or 2. And I really appreciated the people who would leave a comment when I put something thoughtful out there. So do that for other people, and you'll find out that they reciprocate for you. Again, reciprocal commenting, if somebody engages with your stuff and they're supporting you, make sure you do the same in return. One thing you'll hear all the time is find the influencers in your niche and make sure to comment on their content. Yes and no. Only if you can beat others to the punch. And what I mean by that is, if you start to recognize that an influencer in your niche, whatever it may be, posts at 7:30 Central every morning, it's like clockwork, and you're on that time, and you see you're doing your activity and you see that they're on as well, try to get in there and be like the first comment or the second comment. If you can do that, you've got a good chance of getting a nice rush of profile views from it, especially if it's a really value-packed comment. But if you get to their posts and you see that there's already a huge list of comments, don't bother. It's really not worth it. Just move on and stick with people in your ICP.